Hey crafty friends, have you ever looked at your embossing folders and thought, am I really getting the most use out of these? Well, today I'm going to share with you fun and creative ways to stretch your embossing folders and take your card making to the next level. Let's jump into it right now. All right, first up, let's talk about inking embossing folders. That's a fun way to add the first tip that we're going to talk about today. I like to use Distress Oxide ink. We're just going to pick up one of our embossing folder sides. You can do the raised side or the deboss side. I'm working on the deboss side. And I'm using some saltwater taffy. I'm going to take my embossing folder, or my cardstock, I'm sorry. Place that in my embossing folder. And I'm using the embossing folders from Michael's, the Recollection ones. These are brand new. I wanted to give them a try. So that's what I'm using. I'm going to pull in my platinum machine. And we're going to use our embossing sandwich, which I have the universal plate system. So it's plate A, B, and C. And I'm going to run that through. So there is my embossed background. That's tip number one. So to get a beautiful embossed background, you could run this through a second time if you wanted to. Make sure that you clean your embossing folder before you put it away. All right, my next tip for getting more out of your embossing folders is partial embossing. So we're going to take our embossing folder and we're going to take and put in our cardstock. We're going to put it in where we want it to go. We're only going to put it in so far, about right there, because that way I can stamp a sentiment down here, but have this beautiful texture up at the top. We'll take our embossing folder, place it into our die cutting machine. We can put our plate on. We can only have to line it up where we have the embossing it, and I will run that through. And then I have a beautifully partially embossed background that is absolutely stunning. All right, my next tip is emboss on vellum. So I've got a piece of vellum cardstock and a cloud embossing folder. I'm going to place that vellum in there. And then I will run that through. This is a great way to get soft, subtle texture to your card. And it adds just that little bit of interest that can take your card to the next level. See how I got that soft, subtle embossing in there now? I have the perfect card that I'm planning on putting this on. It just gives it that just little bit of something. Now, my last tip is don't forget about your die cuts. It's tip number 4, emboss your die cuts. So I've got some balloon die cuts here. This works for flowers or whatever. I'm going to place them inside the embossing folder, just randomly, and close that. And we're going to create a little bit of texture and interest on our standard die cuts. It just is a good way to add just a little bit more and gives it that subtle hint of texture. You can do this to flowers, to any kind of die cut shape. But now I have these textural balloons instead of just plain regular die cut balloons. So I have a little bit more interest on in my arrangement. All right, there you have it. 4 quick and easy ways to get more out of your embossing folders. If you like this video, you're probably going to like the one coming up next. I will see you over there. Stay crafty, and I love you.